This is part 2 of my journey from John O'Groats to Land's End in an electric car. Quite a lot of you have watched the first video and some of the comments have been quite interesting indeed. Despite me addressing it in the first video, we seem to be getting really hung up on the fact that I've rented a car to do this journey. There's not much more to say that I haven't already covered really. I value my comfort and I didn't want to spend 4 days and 1700 miles in a little car like my Renault Zoe, so I rented a bigger, more comfortable car to do it in. The concept of right sizing seems to escape an awful lot of people, where the car you actually need is one that suits the majority of your needs. I don't make 1700 mile journeys very often, so having a big car that is really good at those doesn't really make any sense. Before I bought the Zoe, I actually had a big diesel Audi A8. Would be perfect for the John O'Groats to Land's End journey. The main reason I got rid of it was because actually for the majority of my use it was too big, too cumbersome, and just wasn't actually worth having because I didn't do that many long journeys that warranted it. And Zoe is actually a much better fit for the majority of the driving that I do with it. I know that passes a lot of people by, and I've got people going on about, well, the average person wouldn't just rent a car. The point of this was to show that long distance EV travel isn't anywhere near as difficult as was made out. And let's not forget, the person that made all the fuss about how difficult it was driving a £120,000 Porsche Taycan, which also isn't really representative of the common man and a typical vehicle that someone would be driving, so I don't really see what the issue is. But if you think it's invalid that I'm doing this in a rented car, that's absolutely fine. But this is the story of how I did it. I have seen Lee the MacMaster's response video to me taking up his challenge, and I think the video itself was fair enough. Obviously, he stressed this point about how renting a car makes it invalid, and now all of you guys that have come over here from his channel are just parroting that over and over again. That's absolutely fine. I thought his video itself was fine, put together the point reasonably well. I don't agree. However, you know, we don't need to agree on everything. And what is really disappointing is those of you that have come over because you've seen his video then started launching personal attacks, and you're talking about my appearance, my size, all that stuff. Well, I don't see how any of that's relevant. You might not like me because I've got a different opinion to you, but the personal attacks aren't really necessary, are they? And I think, let's be honest, the moment you need to start bringing any of that into it, you've all lost the argument already, haven't you? Anyway, on with part 2. We'll get to Land's End in this video. Let's go. Good morning. You joined me this morning, Saturday the 25th of November, and I am in the car park of my hotel in Penrith as I'm about to embark on the second leg of my journey from John O'Groats to Land's End. Today we'll see us drive from Penrith to Land's End in this Polestar 2 on this nice cold and frosty morning. It's -3 here in Penrith at the moment, not that you'd know it in here. Pre-conditioned the car this morning whilst it was plugged into the charger, so not only are we still at 100% state of charge, it is nice and warm in here, the car's defrosted, absolutely ready to go, unlike all the cars parked around me in this car park, which are going to need a little bit of scraping this morning, I think, before they go anywhere. Before we leave, we'll need to do that arduous task of planning our trip to work out where we're going to charge. So let me show you just how quick and easy that is. Now that that huge task is over, we set off with the first stop being Ionity, West Bromwich. Let's go. So we're now here at Ionity in West Bromwich, plugged in, charging, pulling the full sort of 150 kilowatts. And this should be a reasonably short stop. I do need to go to 82% according to ABRP at this one. So arrived with just over 20%, which was more than it suggested, which means that I guess because it warmed up a little bit, hopefully the temperature hasn't been too unkind to us. Quite a busy site, this one, actually. I didn't need to wait. The charger was free. I plugged in, it's all good. But I think this is the first time where it definitely feels like I've been a little bit lucky. It was busy at Tesla and Aviemore, but there seemed to be a steady stream. People weren't stopping for very long. It was in and out quite quickly. But this one, it just felt like luck was on my side here. One of the 6 isn't working, which won't be helping matters. And all of the available units that are here right now do... But actually, it looks like there's still 1 available and 1 not working. Quick correction here about Ionity in West Bromwich. There are 6 chargers. 2 of them were out of service, 2 of them were in use, and 2 of them were available. The reason I got confused is there was someone charging on one of them and someone parked next to them in a bay that wasn't actually for a charger. I guess they were together because they certainly left together after that person was charged. So it seems that there were 4 available chargers, and when I arrived, there were 2 available for use. So I would say I was fairly lucky. If you come here on a bad time, you probably will need to wait at this one. Interestingly, it looks like there's lots of extra bays here. Ionity tend to set their sites up so that they can install more chargers in the future, and I think at the moment, at least that gives you somewhere to wait. And there's a Starbucks drive-through next door as well, which is pretty useful. So, all good though, didn't need to wait. Charging nice and quickly. Hopefully be on our way very shortly, and then there will just be 1 more stop to go, which I am pretty sure is going to be at the big Moto site in Exeter. Charging stop at Moto in Exeter was fantastic. There are 24 grid-serve rapid chargers on this site and 32 Tesla superchargers. The Tesla superchargers are not open to all vehicles, so they're Tesla only, but it quite clearly meant every Tesla driver that was arriving at Exeter was using those, and everybody else was using the grid-serve chargers. Plugged in, charging went straight up to the sort of 150 kilowatt maximum that the Polestar 2 could manage, and it charged at the sort of entire charging curve you'd expect. It was really, really spot on. 69 pence per kilowatt hour isn't the best, but it also isn't the most expensive. And we're going to talk about cost in more detail in part 3, because I want to give you a full breakdown of all of the costs that have been involved in terms of charging, because I know it's a sensitive topic and it's something that people get really het up about. So we'll break down what the journey actually cost, and we will look at it in full detail. But we were shortly on our way, and in fact, actually, I was still eating my sandwich when we reached the 82% that we needed to be at. So we charged for a little bit longer than that, but not very long at all. I mean, we're soon on our way. All in all, Exeter does seem like a great place to charge. I would say that it probably will get quite busy in the busy season, but with those 32 Tesla chargers and 24 grid-serve ones, I don't think you can ask for much more than that, and I don't think you can say it doesn't have enough capacity. Do we need this at more service stations? Absolutely we do, but the fact it's there in Exeter is absolutely fantastic. So we have arrived at Land's End, and I'm plugged in to the only GridServe rapid charger here, which will put us in good stead for tomorrow's journey. But I plugged in, went and sorted out the hotel room, and now we are here. We can do this little bit of filming. The car will be charged by the time I'm done, and then I can move it into the hotel car park. What a journey that was! 449 miles today for 838 in total from John O'Groats to Land's End. And actually, I've driven this Polestar 2 1,465 miles since Wednesday afternoon. And it has been absolutely fantastic. The only problems we've encountered at all were the traffic yesterday. It was absolutely fine today. And the slight issue getting the Eon Drive app working to charge at the hotel. Although once it was working, it was absolutely fine. Every charger I've used has worked perfectly fine. I haven't had to wait to use a charger at all. It's been absolutely spot on. Could we have more EV infrastructure in this country? Yes, absolutely. I'd love to see every motorway services like Exeter. That was absolutely brilliant, that was. So many chargers that there was never a point where it was all full. Now, okay, fair enough. In like the summer holidays and stuff, you might find that it is a little bit more full than it was. But it's ultra rapid charging. Cars are in, cars are out. And it seems to be like almost, to me, it looks like the optimal number. To me, it looks like the optimal number for a site that is that busy. Will we need that many rapid chargers at every motorway services in the UK? I don't think so. I think some people do think so, but I think there's definitely a middle ground here, right, between the like 2 units, which is definitely not enough at any motorway services location, and the number there are at Exeter. I think there's a middle ground there, and depending on location, and depending on how many motorway services there are in an area, because you go up in certain bits of the M6, right, and the services really quite close together, so they don't all need 60 rapid chargers. They will get away with less than that. 6 probably isn't enough, but when you get into the realms of like 12, that should be absolutely brilliant. And I think we will get there. Now, it seems to me like things are lagging behind a little bit from where at least the government said we were going to be as things started improving and GridServe started improving the network on the motorway. But I do hope we're going to get there. It's certainly come a long, long way, and it feels like things are starting to come together. I didn't at any point have to wait to use a charger though. In all this 1,465 miles, it was spot on, turned up, charger was available, plugged in, charger worked, everything was fine. Was the total journey time slightly longer than it would have been in a diesel car? Yes, it was. There's no getting away from that because you've got to stop to charge. But when you take into account the fact you do need to stop, especially if you're doing sort of 1,500 miles in 3 days, you're going to have to stop. You're going to have to feed yourself. You're going to have to take comfort breaks. And anybody that tells me that they're doing that by just running into the services for 5 minutes to use the facilities, running back out again and get straight back on the road, I just don't believe you. I don't believe that you're doing 400 plus mile days without actually properly having to stop, get out of the car, walk around, have something to eat. And if you are doing that, then it's dangerous. There is no way that would be sustainable for any length of time. And I do hope that those of you that posture about this are just doing so for, internet points, and you're not actually doing 500-mile days and consecutive 500-mile days without actually stopping to feed yourself and take a proper break. This Polestar 2, relatively comfortable, but I definitely want out of it after sort of 2.5-3 hours of sitting in the driver's seat. Every stop we had to make, there wasn't at any point where I was like, oh God, I wish we could keep driving. Absolutely not. This absolutely proves it, that any noise that's being made about how it was so difficult to drive from John O'Groats to Land's End in an EV, and how, you spend more time queuing for chargers than what it's worth. I didn't even spend huge amounts of time planning, right? I showed you what the planning looked like. It was 30 seconds once the app was set up, maybe a minute to initially set the app up and then plan a route, and then 30 seconds for any subsequent routes. It's really, really easy. And all you need to do, right, is choose sites that have multiple chargers. Go into one that's got 2 or 3 and then complaining because they're installing more but they're not ready yet that it's busy. It's not going to ever work. This here at Land's End, there's one charger, and that is an absolute nightmare for me. mid-journey, this would be an absolute last resort. There'd need to be nothing else, anywhere else, for me to choose a site that only has one rapid charger. That is just not worth it at all. If you happen to be there and the charger's free and you plug in, brilliant. But planning to go somewhere that only has a couple of chargers, not on at all. It's just not worth it. And I think I've demonstrated that it doesn't need to be really complicated. It's no different to programming a sat-nav, you know, putting your destination into an app and saying, oh, I should stop there and stop there. And actually, with a car like this Polestar 2, with a big enough battery, I get to the point where I'm not even looking at the state of charge and how many miles it says I've got left, because I know that I'm going to get to where the next stop is. I don't need to think about it. I can just drive knowing that I'm going to make it to where I'm going to charge, and because there's 6 chargers there, or 30 or whatever in the case of Exeter, then I'll be able to charge and then I'll be on my way again, and there's absolutely no drama whatsoever. I would say in smaller battery cars, you don't quite have that luxury. You will need to monitor your state of charge and keep an eye on it, but I think at the end of the day, that's about picking the right vehicle for your needs. If you truly need to do, you know, 400-500 mile days very often, then you are going to need something like this. And that's not to say the £120,000 Porsche Taycan wouldn't be capable of this. Of course it would. It can charge twice as fast as this car can, with, you know, an even bigger battery than this has got, but slightly poorer efficiency. It's every bit as capable as this, if not more capable. Any suggestion that it isn't a suitable car for the task at hand is just complete nonsense. And so definitely bear that in mind. The car makes a little bit of difference, yes. I mean, there are very few EVs that you'd want to do long road trips in that you'd need to worry about range and worry about charging. You're not using something like a Renault Zoe, for example, to regularly make 500-mile road trip or longer, you know, 1,500 miles in 3 days. You're not going to do that. You're going to buy something that's actually suitable for the task. I hope that sharing this experience changes your perception a little bit of what it's actually like to live with an EV, because I think if you're watching the wrong people, you're being fed a story that suits the narrative and suits the fact that people like watching negative content about EVs, and people that are unsure about change and are people that are against change and don't want to embrace change would rather be told, oh yeah, that new thing that you're not that fussed about, or you don't actually want, or you're a bit scared of, yeah, it's crap. Don't buy one of them, it's crap. People are much more inclined to click on that and to watch that, and yeah, that makes people money making content like that. But the truth is, it's nowhere near the story that you're being fed. And as you've just seen, and this was an extreme example, nobody drives from John O'Groats to Land's End, as I've been told time and time again. It's not something that people do. But in this extreme example, it wasn't that difficult. And with very, very minimal planning, I didn't have any problems at all that you could attribute to the fact I was doing this in an electric car. I'd have had the same problems with traffic in a petrol or diesel car, absolutely, 100%. And the fact that this is an EV didn't change that at all. So, all I'm saying is, don't believe everything you see, and bear in mind that if someone is very successfully curating an audience that is feeding on this content that shows how something is really bad, but actually it can be really easily proven that it's nowhere near as bad as they're saying, you want to be a little bit wary of what you're taking from that content. But anyway, I do hope you've really enjoyed this, and I hope if you have, I want you to subscribe to the channel, share this video, and do keep an eye out for future content. So on this channel, if you haven't seen it before, we cover, you know, EV related news and new car reviews and crazy trips like this. So do make sure you subscribe, keep an eye out for future videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.